everybody, I'm Quinn.
And I'm Scott, and it's time for the Almost Friday show for January 5th, 2012.
Starting off and off the press, we got Star Trek news about the Star Trek Online game, as well as some news about Star Trek's upcoming movie.
Star Trek 2.
Yeah,
yes.
Some villains have been announced, and they look exciting.
Yes, especially if you like British television.
It's true.
Then we're going to Tech Insight, and it's not a very exciting week, because CES is actually next week.
So everyone's just, like, sleeping a lot right now.
So we're just going to throw a few things at you. Some SkyDrive news, if you like iOS, and some news about Tech Savvy, because we said we'd keep you up on the Canadian internet situation.
And then behind the lens this week, Fuji decided to announce 30 cameras.
We're not kidding.
I'm not making that number
No.
up. It's 30 cameras. So we'll tell you about a couple of them. And then we'll also tell you about some of the rumors that have been floating around the last couple of days.
Yeah, CES could be exciting for cameras as well this year, which is always good.
For sure. Without further ado, it's time for Off the Press.
Hey everyone, welcome to Off the Press. Like all things this week, it's a little bit of a slow news week.
Yeah, not everyone's back to work
No.
just yet, but there is some exciting news if you're a Star Trek fan.
Super exciting news.
Yeah, so Star Trek Online has become free to play as of today if you were already had an account.
Yep.
Because we both had accounts that we had let expire.
Yep.
Because we're cheap like that. And we got emails today saying that you can start playing it free right now because you were already paying customer.
I got an email this afternoon and I got really excited and then I got disappointed that I wasn't sitting at my computer at the time.
So be prepared to patch for years.
Oh my.
If you hadn't been playing but you did have an account originally, it becomes free to play on the 17th of January for everybody.
Yep.
So
2 weeks from now.
yeah, so pretty exciting. It's a really good game. I would recommend checking it out.
Definitely.
Even if you're not a big Star Trek fan, because it is a very open universe with really, really good episodic content.
Yeah, the questing and the storytelling was really good in Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a Star Trek fan, play it for the stories, play it for the sci-fi
Yeah.
MMO.
It's the episodic content I think really drew me in, because the first month or so I played, they didn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
And originally going to this random planet and saving these people, going to this planet and saving these people,
Go to
except
this
now
planet
they're blue.
and rescue 5 of these.
Yeah, pretty much. Or, pick up this crate and bring it over there. It was really kind of dry, but then they started having these like long, intertwined, episodic things that you could start a bit and then go do some side questing
Quest
and then
chains.
continue a bit. It was very cool. And they release new ones of those all the time, and the free accounts get full access to all the new ones
That's true.
as they come out. So very exciting. So if you're not a Star Trek fan, or if you are, Star Trek Online free to play in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And speaking of Star Trek, we've got some pretty exciting news on the Star Trek 2 movie front.
Yes.
So they've announced a villain, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't know how to say his last name. He plays Sherlock Holmes in the BBC.
In BBC Sherlock, yeah.
He's awesome.
He's very good in Sherlock, absolutely. He has a little bit of a villainous face going
He's got
on.
like the Romulan thing going on.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Romulan villain would be cool.
Yeah. And on the BBC note, we also have Noel Clarke, who played Mickey and Ricky in Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, yes.
No word yet on if he's going to be a bad guy or a good guy. He's just in it.
Excellent. That's exciting. Lots of British. I guess JJ is just drawing on the British talent.
J.J. Abrams, like, I know these people. I'll give them a ring.
Yeah, sounds good. Star Trek, all right.
All right.
So that pretty much brings us to new releases, which are also just as brief as
Yes.
the news for this
Oh
week.
my, yes.
Which is good, because a lot of things come out around Christmas and before Christmas.
Yes.
So, is anyone going to buy anything that's out this week? Probably not.
Nope.
In the theaters this week?
The Devil Inside. Looks like one of those found footage, exorcism, reality type movies.
Oh, yeah.
The one with the
with
really creepy girl? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like all the other Exorcist movies, except a little more,
Graphic?
yeah,
Yeah.
a little more Blair Witchy kind of.
Yeah, sort
Yeah.
of.
So, if you need to go check that out.
If you're into that, sure.
DVD and Blu-ray this week, Contagion came out. Pretty good, if
I-
you like a dry-ish documentary feel.
I still kind of want to see it. It got mostly positive reviews.
I would recommend watching it once.
Yes.
I wouldn't buy it.
No.
No.
Just rent it. It's cheap.
Yeah.
We also have Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I think Guillermo del Toro is involved in this, which explains the really weird trailer, all the really weird stuff. Yeah.
And last but not least, Shark Night.
Yeah.
I think that kind of explains itself. Yeah.
It totally did.
And that's it for Off the Press this week.
Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Insight for, well, the new year.
Yeah, not a very exciting week.
Starting off slow.
because CES is next week, so everyone's talking about, oh, this is going to be coming out at CES. And I don't want to cover stories that are about what people think might come out next week.
Yeah, it's all kind of rumor mill. There's some definites, but at the same time, those definites are kind of like lame-ish.
Yeah, no one pulled a Fuji in the tech world and released 150 products before CES.
Yeah.
But we did hear that Apple's having a media event this month.
You don't say.
And everyone goes, oh, iPad 3 maybe?
A new
iPhone 5 finally,
New books?
MacBook Air 15-inch perhaps? No. It's an iTunes University / Apple and Education event. There will be no hardware announced. Apparently, it's a big initiative that's been coming for many years that Steve Jobs had a big influence on, and it'll be held in New York rather than in San Francisco, Silicon Valley area, because New York has a big influence in the publishing industry. So apparently, Apple will be revolutionizing the textbook education industry coming soon. I have a feeling it's going to be like a textbook deal for iBooks,
That's what I'm thinking.
which is really not that exciting.
So basically, you're probably going to get an iPad 3 or whatever, 2 or 3, and you're going to be able to get maybe maybe a free textbook of your choice.
I
have
imagine
it.
they're going to do the whole, now you can get all these textbooks on the iPad, which, to me, it makes them just as expensive.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Because
Because, I got to go buy an iPad that I wouldn't normally have.
Although I have spent close to the same amount of money for an iPad on one textbook, and I still need to get others.
Really?
Yeah.
$600?
Yeah.
That's not right.
No.
But regardless, it's not going to be very exciting. We will cover it when it happens. But Apple Media event, no textbooks. Sign up things to come, maybe. On the Windows side of thing, this week they announced that we've talked about the SkyDrive service many times. 25 gigs of free cloud storage, really great service. You can now access it from your iPhone.
Really?
There's an iOS app. It's very similarly integrated like Dropbox is when you get the Dropbox app.
Mm-hmm.
So it's integrated with a few things. I don't know specifically what. I haven't played with it too much because I don't use SkyDrive.
But it doesn't matter. The fact that they've done integration with the
Yep.
iPhone and
you
iOS is
can
really interesting.
bring up the files and open them up. It's very similar to Dropbox, except instead of the 2 gigs, you get the 25. So if you use the Dropbox app and liked it, it's the same thing but more storage, essentially. But it means Windows is serious about getting SkyDrive out there because while it's really easy to access on it's really easy if you're using the new versions of Word and things like that. You can save to your SkyDrive, so you can use online Office and things like that. But in terms of mobile, if you're not on Windows Phone, it's been completely inaccessible. But now it is. I think there's no mention of an Android app, but it is good that it is in iOS.
Yeah, this is actually a really good step forward because there's been a couple times where I've been like, oh, I don't have my laptop, a tablet, I do have my phone, but I need to access that thing and I can't.
So
and I do have a SkyDrive.
I still have some problems with the SkyDrive service, but it is 25. You can't argue with 25 gigs of free cloud storage.
No, you really can't. Considering all the others are 2 and
4,
maybe 10.
something like that. I think you can get 50 on Box.net, but that's the worst service I've ever used.
Yeah, they don't allow you to upload too much right now.
But SkyDrive, really cool. Check it out on your iOS device. Works on the iPad as well.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Apple products like the Apple TV, Roku, which we've talked about many times.
Yeah.
Not up here in Canada so much because the services they offer are really like Hulu and things like
Yeah,
that.
it's mostly been tailored toward, of course, the States, but they never did really get bust through that regional thing.
Which is fine if they're a smaller company.
Yeah.
They made the Roku box. It's different models, really competitively priced. I think the lowest one's like $59.
Yeah, they were actually at the time we've sold a couple of them, and people were just eating them up.
Yeah.
Because there was apparently a way that you could get them to work better here.
They're very simple. They give you good access to web content. I believe they access your Universal Plug and Play / DLNA servers. Very, very simple TV set box. Now they're actually one-upping themselves, and they're producing a stick. No longer will you need a box. It looks like a really big USB stick with an HDMI port on the end.
So it's kind of like if you look at the picture, it's a lot like the old Wi-Fi dongles they used to give you there.
It looks exactly like that.
Yeah.
Except instead of a USB, you've got an HDMI. So the premise is literally you just take the stick, plug it into an HDMI port, and you're good to go. You don't need the box. They're going to offer multiple models of it, so you'll probably see something offering up to 1080p.
Okay.
Packing a lot of process power in there. The only difference is no onboard storage, obviously. enough to run the OS
Yeah,
and
the
things like
OS.
that, but you don't get any extra storage, and you won't be able to use USB drives because there's no USB port on it.
Well, now I guess maybe this is a question that I would like to find out. Would you be able to take advantage of your TV's USB if your TV has it?
Probably
Mine
not,
does,
because you're just outputting a video signal.
Ah,
right?
okay. Yeah,
So most TVs that have USB ports, you can use their onboard.
yeah, they have their
programming.
own crap in there.
But if you want to get access to things like Hulu, things like, I think they have like MLB and NBA deals and things like that. The Roku Stick it's going to be at least $59 or less, so it's really inexpensive.
yeah.
And if you want to bring it around, it's really easy. You don't need to bring power cables and HDMI
Yeah, you just kind of
cords.
plug it in.
Yeah.
I like this idea of plug and play TV because Roku was already kind of like that. It was kind of like set it up, just do a quick setup, and then that's it. This is more appealing to me.
I think it's very cool. The only thing that I want to bring up, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's based on this new spec for HDMI called MHL, which is a spec for getting mobile devices plugging into your HD displays. The thing is, a lot of phones actually support it that we don't know about. The Galaxy Nexus supports it. The Galaxy S, I believe, supports it. But a lot of TVs don't right now.
Ah,
So we're apparently it should be picked up very quickly.
Okay.
Might even be able to be firmware downloads in your TV, which a lot of people aren't going to want to do.
I was going to say, having to have done that 3 times now.
Well, and dad at home or granddad is not going to go, oh, I need to upgrade the firmware on my TV. He's going to go, why doesn't this thing work, right?
It's going to be, why doesn't this work? And then, hey, can you come over and upgrade, do something, make it work? And I'm going to go,
No. But just remember, if you're interested in the Roku Stick, make sure you have a really new TV that supports MHL. We're probably talking about it more next week, the
Yeah.
MHL protocol. I don't want to get too far into it right now, but it's going to be a big thing at CES.
definitely.
Last but not least, Canadian news.
Woo!
So we've been following the whole usage-based billing ruling that finally got resolved earlier, or at the very end of 2011, and now TechSavvy, one of the biggest independent internet providers in Canada, has come out and said, we're raising our prices because of the ruling.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that headline, I was like, oh, great, there goes the independent. No, $4 to $6, depending on your package.
Which actually isn't bad.
No, it still makes them a lot cheaper than Rogers. If you look at their cable at 24 megabits, it's $46.95. It's $59.99 for the same speed at Rogers for half the cap.
Yeah, and even then, you can. I like the Extreme Cable Pro Unlimited package for $61.95 here. At least I don't know how much that goes further in, but at least in Ontario or at least Ottawa, that is killer.
Yep.
For unlimited and at 24, that's really good.
So that's the other thing they've unleashed is they released unlimited
There's like 64.
bandwidth packages at different speeds.
Yeah.
So previously they really only had it at 1 or 2 speeds for each of their DSL and cable offerings.
Yeah.
Now TechSavvy's offering unlimited on pretty much all their speeds, from what I can tell.
Yeah, because they offered. Yeah, they have.
More or
so
less,
seeing
yeah.
in here, they have a 3, a 12, and a 24 for cable, and they do have an unlimited package for each. And
Which
it's,
is new because they only used to have the unlimited on a fraction of the packages.
Yeah, and which is actually really great because this is the kind of thing that you have to direct like mom and dad to it, but if you direct them to it and be like, hey, look, this is what you're paying now, but look, we can get unlimited for basically the same amount of money.
Now, just to be wary of a little caveat that I've recently been learning a lot about in the independent world is that they have technical issues. All they can do is send a ticket to Rogers or Bell,
Yeah.
or Videotron or whoever it is they're getting their actual service from, which makes customer service different. I don't want to say bad. I haven't had a bad experience. I don't know anyone personally who's had a bad experience with someone like TechSavvy or Storm or something like that. But just know that if you have an actual technical error, TechSavvy can't fix it because it's not their equipment.
Yeah, they have. That was one of the biggest things that people did start worrying about. And from what I've actually had a couple friends who've had it go down, like the service just drops for some reason. But they actually got it back up same day within an hour. And that's because I think TechSavvy, of course, has a little bit of a pull.
They really don't.
No?
I've read horror stories. I spent all last night because I'm thinking about switching to TechSavvy.
Yeah.
Still think I will. But there's a lot of people who, especially, I think it's in bigger areas like Toronto, where Rogers is managing or Bell is managing a ridiculously complex, much larger network than somewhere like Ottawa.
Yeah.
Because in Toronto, you're looking at 5, 6, 7 million people. We don't have anywhere near that here. So people are saying, they'll call with an issue. They'll say, okay, we'll send a ticket to Rogers, and then like weeks and weeks go by where it's not been remedied. And that's not necessarily Tech Savvy's fault, but if they're giving a service, they should be able to stand behind it. So it's just a caveat to be aware of. But these people, not just Tech Savvy, but a lot of other companies that lease Bell and Rogers lines, offer much better prices, and they can get you in that unlimited option, which you can't get on any of the big guys.
And that is a very, very compelling argument.
Something to keep in mind if you're, the people like us who use ridiculous amounts of bandwidth and just don't want to pay for it. And that's it for Tech Inside this week. Hey everybody, welcome to the Pre-CES Behind the Lens extravaganza, where we're talking about the 6,000 cameras that Fujifilm has released this week.
More specifically 30, but that's still a ridiculous number.
Absolutely.
They decided to refresh every single camera in their lineup in every category, and then add a couple of in-between models with minor insignificant changes between them, because that's what they feel like doing.
Now, we're not going to talk about all 30 cameras,
No,
because that would
no.
be boring, and then you'd stop watching.
And we don't care about 80% of them, because
Yeah.
they're really just cameras. We will talk about a couple of them, though. First up is the F770 EXR. There's also an F750, I believe. Yes, an F750 as well. Now, these guys are the update to the F550 lineup, which had 15 times optical zoom, but now has 20 times optical zoom in the same small package, which is pretty cool. It's using a new revamped 16 megapixel CMOS sensor, which is something that a lot of the other models we're going to talk about too also kind of share, which is supposed to cut out 30% of the noise that the previous generation of the same CMOS sensor had.
That's a reasonable upgrade.
So pretty good light gathering capabilities on it. It also has GPS built into it, and raw shooting capability, full manual shooting capability. But the big thing is that 20 times optical zoom. The only difference between the F770 and the F750 is GPS. So if you want GPS, you can pay a little bit more for the F770. If you don't care, you can get all the other features in the F750. And that's kind of going to be part of what we're talking about here, is that a lot of their models are exactly the same, but have a version with and without GPS, which doubles almost everything in their lineup. So the next camera we're talking about is the HS30, which is the update to the HS20. Again, it's using the new 16 megapixel backlit CMOS sensor, so better low light capability. It also has an electronic level built into it, a higher resolution LCD viewfinder, and it now allows you to manually focus during video, which is something we almost never see in point and shoots.
That's really cool, actually.
So because this camera has the bigger lens and it does have that manual focus ring that we also don't typically see in point and shoot cameras, they've allowed that functionality to carry over to video so that you can do manually focusing in video, which is cool because it does full 1080p, obviously. Almost everything does these days. And again, you've same 30 times optical zoom, bright f2.5 to 5.6 lens. So if you are looking for sort of like that pro point and shoot, that's like an SLR but gives you all that one lens that does everything, the HS30 is looking to be a really great option. Also, obviously has manual and raw capabilities. They also launched their XP150 and XP100, as well as an XP50. These three models are their waterproof cameras. Now, the XP50 is an update to the previous XP20, but the XP150 and 100 are finally bringing Fuji into the lower depth rating that they didn't previously go into. So their XP20 was good to 10 feet. These new ones are good to 33 feet, which is the upper tier that we see with like the Panasonic TS3 and the Nikon AW100. So usually with these cameras, you have stuff that's good to 10 feet and stuff that's good to 33, and Fuji previously hadn't gone there, so now they are. You're looking at 5 times optical zoom, 14 megapixel CMOS sensor, so better low light capability than the previous generation. Again, the 150 has GPS, the 100 does not.
Good surprise.
Yep. Rated for minus 10 degrees Celsius for weather, 2 meters for dropping, all that kind of fun stuff. But it's good to see. It's a pretty sharp looking camera. I actually really like the look of it. It's very futuristic looking. It's good to see that Fuji is moving into that greater depth for waterproofing, though. And the other thing that we've learned this week is that the XS1, which was their really high-end super zoom, almost an SLR but not camera, we knew all the specs about it, and we've talked about it before, but we didn't have a price point. Well, now we do. It's $800. Which it kind of makes sense, because if you look at the X10, which is $600, and then you basically put an SLR around it, you get the XS1. So it
Plus,
makes sense.
That's the right price point for that kind of entry-level SLR.
Yeah,
thing.
it's basically the best quality you're ever going to get in a super zoom camera. So if you're like, I really want a DSLR because I like the shape and the viewfinder and the lens and all this kind of stuff, but I really don't want this whole changing lens business, then the XS1 is probably a really good option. If you don't feel like, if you want to spend more than the $500 of the HS20 and you want that better image quality, then the XS1 is going to be a good option. And I think $800 makes sense because it is $200 worth of camera more than the X10 is
possibly
for sure.
a small market though.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. But you're going to get some people that, it's going to be a fantastic travel camera
Absolutely.
because it's a bright lens, good low light capability.
You don't have to carry a bag full of other gear.
Exactly, 1080p video, all that fun stuff. We're moving on to rumors because there's been a bunch of those sort of pre-CES right now, and the big one, keeping up with Fuji, is that there has been some leaked photos of the new Fuji X Pro 1. For the love of God, companies, there is more to the photographic alphabet than the letters X, S, G, and the number 1. Okay?
There isn't.
Apparently not.
J1.
Can we just...
G1. X Pro 1.
I know.
The X100.
Everything either has a 1 or has an X in it, or if it doesn't have those, it has a G and an S. It's unavoidable. Yeah. However, the X Pro 1 looks amazing.
Now, is this the pro'd up version of the X100 we saw last
So
year?
this is the interchangeable lens version of the X100, using an all-new sensor. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the X100 had spectacular image quality for the camera.
Absolutely.
But what they've done is they've really done some really interesting stuff here. And the big thing is that they're using a 6-color random sensor array. Now, typical cameras use what's called a Bayer pattern, which is like 2 greens and then a blue and a red. And that's what we've been using for a while. And Fuji kind of switched things up with their EXR because everything got hexagonal and went in strange directions and stuff. Fuji's been known to be like, screw the regular idea of a sensor. And what's cool about this 6 random placements is that basically it's going to get rid of moire issues, which is when you get really rainbowy effects on tight concentric lines. And it also allows them to not put an anti-aliasing filter in either, because you don't get that problem with this pattern either. And both of those things mean that the sharpness of the image will be higher, because the anti-aliasing filters help reduce artifacting you get on sharp, jagged lines, but they dull the photo a little bit in the process. So by creating this entirely new sensor array, they've basically solved both of those problems while increasing the quality of their photos, which sounds pretty awesome. The camera looks spectacular, and we've heard that there's going to be basically 3 lenses shipping with it. A 27mm equivalent f2.0 lens, a 53mm equivalent f1.4 lens, and a 90mm equivalent f2.4 lens.
This is a decent selection.
Really good selection. I mean, you got your wide angle, you've got your base standard 50, and then you got your nice portrait 90, and most of them are fast. I mean, I would have liked to see a little bit better than f2.4 on the 90, but it's still fast, and that's the important thing. And obviously f1.4 on the 50 is great, because they could have done 1.8 and still been good, but 1.4 is going to be really nice.
Now, is this a new lens mount?
Yeah, we don't really know for sure yet. I think they're calling it their X mount or something like that.
Surprise.
Yeah, whoa, yeah. And it's gonna have it's using the same hybrid optical viewfinder
As the X100?
Yeah. But because they've designed it specifically for 3 lenses, the optical viewfinder is going to change its magnification when you put the different lenses on.
Oh, that's kinda
at least that's
cool.
what we've kind of heard. So I don't know if we're going to see more lenses come in the future. They don't really need it. And ultimately, this is kind of going after those Leica guys that really only use like 3 or 4
Anyway,
Leica lenses with their little metering or their bracket patches. So I think this looks awesome. The rumored cost is 1,300 euros, which probably means it's going to be about $1,500 here, which really isn't that expensive.
Especially if you compare it to something like the X100.
Which was $1,200?
Yeah.
Now, the lenses, the additional lenses, I think it's going to ship with the 50mm equivalent.
That makes sense.
And then the additional lenses are going to cost $600 a piece, which is kind of pricey. But if they only ever make 3 lenses, well, then great. You just buy all 3 and you're happy. And have I mentioned how freaking gorgeous this camera is? Like, I want it now. And it's funny, because a year ago I said, you know what, when Fuji decides to make an X100 that gives me like a 35, a 50, and an 85, I'll buy it. And they did. So I guess I have to. I owe them some money now.
Yeah. In the range of $2,500.
Yeah, so coming from the X100, we're looking at better image quality, better low light capability, really awesome lenses, and a really interesting hybrid electrical viewfinder. So when we know specifically what it is, hopefully all those things do pan out. I got high hopes for it because I think this is going to be awesome camera. We've also heard about the Nikon D4. We're recording this on a Thursday, and it's supposed to be announced tomorrow on Friday. So this is still kind of speculative, but a lot of people think it's pretty close.
Now this is a new high end.
Yes, this is their top tier. Now, what I'm happy about is that their D3S, which was because they made two models of the D3. They had the D3. Well, they had the D3, then they had the D3S and the D3X. And the difference between the S and the X was the megapixels. So the S was their good low light 12 megapixel version, and then the X was their 24 megapixel sort of studio version or landscape version.
Yeah.
So we were kind of wondering whether or not they were going to put those both together and go with a higher megapixel but still better at low light kind of thing. And it looks like they haven't, which I'm kind of happy about because they've bumped this guy up to 16 megapixels from 12, which isn't a really big stretch, but it's a nice little bit of extra resolution, which means that it's going to be absolutely freaking phenomenal in low light because the D3S is already amazing, and now we've got 2.5 years worth of technology, especially when you look at what we've accomplished with the D7000.
Absolutely.
This looks like it's going to be pretty cool. So it should be a low light monster. But they're talking about some really interesting video features. The first thing that we can tell right away is that there's a headphone jack on the side of the camera, which is
a very good sign.
Which is the first time that we've seen a DSLR with a headphone jack on it. And it's also been talking about pixel-to-pixel 1080p, which improves the clarity. That's why the GH2 looks really good, because they do proper interpolation, and it's sharper than the Canons. So that's going to probably be pretty cool. And there's been some talk that the HDMI out is going to be RAW as well, so a really clean HDMI out feed. So this is looking like Nikon could finally be taking video seriously. Unfortunately, it's going to be a $6,000 camera.
Yeah.
But the hopes is it's a trickle-down effect.
And to be honest, if they want to get into that semi-pro filmmaker, like a lot of people are using the 5D Mark II, like 5D Mark II is used on television now some of the time. That would be a point where, they're okay with dropping $6,000-$7,000 on a camera.
Absolutely.
If the features they want are there.
So some other features, 100% viewfinder coverage, which is good, 10 to 12 frames per second, which is really fast for a 16 megapixel full frame sensor, at 91,000 point metering system, which is super accurate, as well as having ISO expandable up to 204,800 ISO, which is it sees considerably better than the human eye is capable of seeing at that point, which is just ridiculous. So we'll probably have more official specs next week, or basically be like, yes, they were all right, because it is supposed to be announced Friday, the day after the filming of this episode. And the last bit of rumors for this week is Canon's G1X. Friggin' hell. Can we move on from the ones and the X's? I'm gonna kill all the manufacturers. So Canon hasn't entered the mirrorless market yet.
No, which we were talking about last week.
Which Canon kind of said that they don't really care, and then there were some people like, yeah, we're working on something. And so we don't have any pictures of this G1X, because this is really revealing, leaking information at this point. But the suggestions have been that it's going to be their sort of prosumer point-and-shoot that's going to have a fixed lens, which is the same 28 to 112 millimeter that you see on a G12 right now. But it's going to have a 1.5-inch sensor, which is actually bigger than what's in the Nikon CX. Now, sensor size calculations is all over the place, depending on how you look at it. So I don't know how they plan on getting a 1.5-inch sensor into there, or something. But it's supposed to have a 1.5-inch sensor, 14 megapixel CMOS. It's going to be an f2.5 beginning aperture, which is fairly bright, and supposedly around $800. But that's really all we know. And I think it'll sell if they make it. I'm just confused about what Canon's thinking at this point.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to enter the mirrorless market without going back on that whole, we don't care about the mirrorless market.
Yeah, they're like, well, yeah, we'll make you a better performing camera. We just really want you to still buy a T3i.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if you'd like lenses, just buy our T3i. So who knows if this means that they're not going to enter mirrorless, or if this is in fact accurate, because I still feel like a 1.5-inch sensor in this thing seems unrealistic.
It's fairly large.
It is fairly large. So
unless the camera's really big.
But then that would really defeat the purpose, because then you're like, well, I'm just going to buy a T3i.
Yeah. Well, they really pushed the Rebel series, right?
Or they're making this camera just so that people buy a T3i. They're not going to make very many of them. They're just going to announce that people are like, well, I was thinking of this, but then I realized that mathematically it just made way more sense to buy a T3i.
Could be.
Yeah.
That's clever. If so, Canon, well done.
At the same time, incredibly stupid.
But it's Canon.
It's true. So hopefully we'll know more about that because it does seem interested. It's probably I really want the Fuji camera now, but I'm really interested in what this GX1 could be.
G1X.
God, yeah, because I'm sorry, the GX1's the Panasonic
That's
camera.
right.
Oh, I'm gonna burn all of your buildings down, all of them, or I'm just gonna go and beat you until you have only other letters in the alphabet.
What's wrong with like K?
No, that's what Pentax uses.
You're right.
Pentax puts K in front of everything.
P.
Yeah, we don't use P a lot.
There you go.
Oh, well, Nikon uses it on some of their cameras.
I'm trying.
There's just too many ones and X's. That's really the problem.
Z's, but then you
How
have the
about
ZZ
B?
problem.
We do actually use a lot of the letters of the alphabet. There needs to be more.
Symbols, ampersand,
There needs to be more cameras that start with O.
pound.
Pound sign.
Exclamation.
It's the Panasonic Pound 3.
#3.
Hashtag 3.
Yeah, it'd be confusing.
But they get really awesome Twitter response to it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of Behind the Lens for this week.
And that brings us to the end of the episode with the pre-CES not really exciting news except Fuji announced 30 cameras.
Yeah, 30 cameras.
If you're going to buy one of those 30 cameras because you thought they were really exciting and you wanted GPS, you can email us at contact@almostfridayshow.com.
Or you can send us your full list of all the model names, because I didn't even bother to write them all down because it was just excessive. And you can send that list to us. Well, it won't fit in a Twitter, but you can just link us to us. on Twitter.
Hashtag ridiculous Fuji names.
Yeah. Start that up. Ridiculous Fuji names. And you can send those to us at @almost_Friday.
And if you're wondering where you can find the latest episodes, you should check out our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com and type in The Almost Friday Show.
We're up there.
Yeah, and you can see all the new episodes and watch them right on your page right there.
And you can also find us on iTunes under podcasts under the Almost Friday Show. So you can check
Or on
that
the
out,
internet at almostfridayshow.com.
There's lots of ways you can find us. Is really what we're getting to. So just go out and watch some damn episodes.
Especially in 2012. And look forward to next week. We'll be doing what everyone else is doing and covering the madness that is CES, but from up here in the frigid depths of Canada.
Yeah. Where our idea of internet technology is that rabbit ears on top of our roof.
Hey, I get really good ADSL through that shit.